He looked into her big blue eyes one last time, then turned his back and walked away, leaving his 3-year-old disabled daughter alone in the forest. 25 years later, the millionaire returned, broken, desperate to find the child he abandoned. But what he discovered wasn't just a grown woman. It was the consequences of a lifetime of regret staring back at him. And her first words to him, "Why wasn't I enough for you?" The morning was unnaturally quiet as Arthur Langston drove deep into the Ashwood forest. His grip tightened around the steering wheel, not out of fear, but guilt. In the back seat, little Emery, barely 3, stared blankly out the window. Her legs, limp and useless since birth, were cradled in a blanket. Her tiny hands clutched a stuffed rabbit missing one ear. Arthur was a self-made millionaire, CEO of Langston International. He had money, cars, properties across continents, but none of it could fix his daughter. Born with a rare neuromuscular condition, Emery couldn't walk, barely spoke, and her medical bills kept mounting. His wife had died giving birth. And now Arthur had decided he couldn't deal with this burden anymore. "I'm sorry," he whispered as he lifted Emery from the car seat and placed her gently on a mossy patch between 2 ancient trees. Her big blue eyes blinked at him, sensing something wasn't right. She reached for him, but he stepped back. I can't. You deserve better. Someone might find you. Someone kinder," he said, choking on his cowardice. He placed her stuffed rabbit in her lap, turned away, and walked. He never looked back, but fate had other plans. That very afternoon, an old woman named Mayela was foraging herbs nearby. A healer and herbalist, she lived off-grid in a stone cottage hidden by thickets and mist. When she heard a soft whimpering sound, she followed it, only to find a motionless child in the woods. Mela, in her 70s but still spry, scooped Emery up. "Oh, sweet star," she murmured. "What monster left you here?" From that day forward, Mela raised Emery as her own. Though the girl couldn't walk, she learned to crawl, to draw with chalk on flat stones, to recognize birdsong. Mila taught her herbs, nature, and stories. Over the years, Emery's speech grew, slowly but surely, and so did her spirit. She was curious, brave, and gentle-hearted. At 12, she used crutches made from smooth branches. At 17, she designed her own leg braces from wood and leather. And by 20, she was helping Mela treat sick animals and forest travelers. The forest didn't isolate Emery. It awakened her. Still, some nights, she'd gaze at the stars and wonder, why did he leave me? Was I really so unlovable? Meanwhile, Arthur Langston's empire was crumbling. At 65, he sat alone in a sterile penthouse, haunted by decisions he tried to forget. His company was facing lawsuits, his health was failing, and the media had caught wind of rumors. Langston's long-lost daughter. Did he abandon a disabled child? Though he denied it, guilt gnawed at him. His board pushed him to retire. One sleepless night, Arthur looked at an old photo, his wife in the hospital bed, cradling baby Emery. The photo had always been hidden in a drawer, but now it burned a hole in his chest. "I need to find her," he whispered. He hired private investigators. Every clue pointed to Ashwood Forest. Arthur returned there 25 years later, older, slower, and unsure of what he'd find. Emery was now 28. Her limbs still ached sometimes, but she walked with dignity and strength. Mela had passed 2 years earlier, and Emery had transformed the cottage into a sanctuary, offering natural medicine and aid to wanderers, hikers, and the forgotten. She had no last name, no records, just a forest of memories and a heart that never stopped aching for answers. One autumn morning, a stranger arrived at her door. Gray hair, sunken eyes, a limp in his walk. Arthur. When she opened the door, she didn't recognize him, only that he seemed hollow. "I'm looking for someone," he said, voice shaking. "A girl. Left here. Years ago. Her name was Emery." Her breath caught. "I'm Emery," she said quietly. Arthur stumbled back. His lips trembled. "I'm your father." Silence. Birds chirped overhead. The forest breathed. "Why?" she finally asked, eyes gleaming with the pain of a lifetime. "Why did you leave me?" Arthur collapsed to his knees. "I was a coward. I let grief and selfishness make me believe you were better off without me. I don't deserve forgiveness, but I needed to see you, to say I'm sorry. Days passed. Emery let Arthur stay in the guest hut. She brought him food but kept her distance. He helped mend fences, plant herbs, and even learned to grind leaves into salves. Slowly, he softened. Emery watched him, not with trust, but curiosity. He was broken, not just by age, but by regret. One evening, as they sat beneath the same tree where he once left her, Emery whispered, I survived because someone loved me when you didn't. But I've learned something from Mela. Arthur looked up. That healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing peace. Tears streamed down his face. Do you hate me? He asked. She shook her head. Number. But I don't know if I can love you either. Arthur nodded, accepting her words like medicine. Bitter, but needed. In the months that followed, Arthur sold his company, donated most of his wealth to disability charities. He returned to the forest not as a father, but as a servant. Emery never called him dad, but she allowed him to stay, to help, to be something. And on Maela's old stone bench, two souls, one once abandoned, the other once lost, sat each evening and watched the sun go down. Not as family, but as something close.